Welcome to the Connected Growth Coaching Podcast, where we support women to rediscover who they are so they can thrive in all parts of their lives. Your hosts, Jen Heilman and Amanda Kingsley, share with you unique life coaching resources centered around the power of the mind and the ancient practice of feng shui. All right, Jen.
Okay.
Ready for it?
Let's go, Amanda. Let's do this.
Today we're going to talk about purpose. We are going to talk about, and my hope is that we can speak directly to the listeners who were where we were just a few years ago and give you hope for the way out.
Right.
Because there's this energy around purpose that can be really intense. And our goal is that it becomes less intense for you. There's this idea out there that when you figure out your purpose, when you figure out your why, when you figure out the reason that you were born here into this life, whether it's this amazing life or this stressful life or this awful life, like, why? Why am I here? Right? Like the big question.
Right. And that as soon as you figure out that purpose, then the light will come shining through and all will be, transformed, and you will be magical and unicorns and rainbows, and it'll all be, this amazing life. And
right.
Yeah.
So there's this idea that like once you figure that out, everything's going to change.
Right.
And I lived in this place for a really long time, and it led me where I am. So I have no regrets. I am a woman of many changes of heart.
Funny, me too.
One thing led me to the next thing, led me to the next thing. But all that time, I felt like until I reached this point, and maybe I'll say that again at the next point.
Right.
But until I reached this point, I felt like I was searching. And now I feel like I'm here. This is it.
I know.
Like I could do this forever. I would feel really good about my life. There'd be a lot of joy. Of course, there's things I want to change. Jen and I have been talking about the things we want to change all morning. But I feel like once I got clarity on what I wanted to serve the world, everything shifted. And so I want to speak to the women probably listening out there who are feeling like there's got to be something more. Right? Like my life must be meant for something more. This is great. Like the kids are great. The house is great. The jobs are great. Or they're all not. I hate them all. Whatever the circumstance is, you're thinking like there's got to be more.
Yeah.
My life has to be meant for more.
Yeah, that was a driving force for me for so long. Yeah, it was like this inner burning, right? That like, yes, I love this and I love that and I love all the things about my life, but there's got to be something else, right?
Right.
Like this is not where I'm meant to land, right? Until really when we started the connected growth process, before we even turned it into a business, we started doing the work, we really landed in a place that felt amazing and okay, this makes sense.
This is what it's supposed to feel like.
Yeah.
So the thing that I want to say, and I'll just say it to you, Jen, as an example, but to all the women out there is what if I could have inserted myself into your life 10 years ago, 5 years ago, and said, stop stressing about it. Stop stressing about your purpose. Like that's the message that I want to spread is like, stop freaking out about it. Whether you feel like you figured it out or not, just chill out, let it unfold, learn the tools that will allow it to unfold, make a decision about it, and just own it. And if it's stressful, you're probably not on the right track.
Right. Exactly. I love what you were saying about wanting something, right? There's a difference between that I've got to do this because it's my quote unquote purpose, or I want to do this because I love it, right? And this fills me up with a tremendous amount of joy. And every time I do this, I'm just elated, and everyone around me feels it. And that's, you know, that's where I feel like the difference is.
Absolutely. It's this like searching and stressing about your purpose versus just doing what feels good.
Yeah.
And if what feels good is your purpose, it will become abundantly clear.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Right.
And that's what happened with Jen and I. Like, we're like, all right, let's try this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fun, and it stayed fun, and it was satisfying, and it stayed satisfying, and it was interesting, and it stayed interesting. And then all of a sudden we were like, whoa,
we're onto something now.
We're onto something. Maybe this is the purpose.
Right.
But it was in the choosing to step into what we wanted versus what other people were telling us we should. Like, well, this might be my purpose, but is it good enough? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know, versus like the big aha moment of my purpose is to save children in, you know, third world countries, or like release all the pressure and just step back and go, what is it that I want? If I keep following what I want, it will lead me to my purpose.
Right. And in the wanting, right, having the fun, right, and opening up and being in this place of more joy, right? That the what you're doing, because you're doing it because you want to do it, it feels joyful and it feels good. And that starts to open up this energetic exchange and this co-creativeness, you know, that comes with the universal exchange of energy, that you know, that joy and that fun really starts to funnel in those opportunities to do more of it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's funny, if I look back, so my purpose, which I feel pretty clear about, is to hold space for growth. So my own growth, my kids' growth, my clients' growth, my community's growth. But I feel like my purpose is to hold space for growth. If I look back, that's what I was doing when I was a stay-at-home mom. That's what I was doing when I was taking care of other people's kids. That's what I was doing when I was a doula. That's what I was doing in network marketing. But I was so stressed about it that I didn't see it that way.
Right.
I was like wasting.
You took the fun out of it.
Yeah, I was, not that those things weren't fun, because I loved those things. But there was always this question in my mind, like, is this it? Is this it? And if I just let go of that question, like, did I arrive? Is this it? If I just released that question and asked, like, is this fun? Does this feel good right now? Am I satisfied? I would have been able to like make even more of an impact sooner.
Right.
So I don't have any regrets. I loved all those things I did. They brought me here. But if I could go back and change one thing, it would be like, release all the stress about it. Right. Just have fun. Like, stop asking, am I here yet? Am I here yet? Is it going to click? Is it going to click? And just let it.
Yeah, exactly. And what comes when you were talking about your purpose of, you know, holding the space for people to grow, really what comes through for me is connecting the dots for people, right? And your word is growth, my word is connection. And for me, it's connecting the dots for people within their space, right? And showing them how their lives are being reflected within that space, and how they can move through that, you know, that space and change the things in the space to reflect the person that they want to become. Right. And so I love going through and seeing people's spaces, you know, and connecting the dots in my own mind, like kind of being the, you know, the sleuth, you know, and going through and then sharing that with them and seeing their faces go, oh my God, I didn't know that, you know, like, but now that you say it, it makes so much sense. And for me, that's fun. I love that, you know, and I've always been able to do that, but you know, we make these things so much bigger than they are, you know, or need to be, I guess. Yeah.
And even without the feng shui, like, you are such a dot connector.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, if you even think about like your design work or your work in, even at Kohl's, when you worked at Kohl's, it's like all those places you were just like Jen's the one in the office who everyone goes to connect the dots, like, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's the one where they're like, Jen will make it all click into place. I feel like that's so much of what you do for your family too.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, it's true.
I'm the dot connector.
All right. Okay. New title.
Right? But it's just being like, wow, I'm good at this. I like seeing that moment where it clicks for people. And I'm just going to keep following that.
Right. Exactly. Because it's fun.
Yeah.
And I enjoy it. And I love doing it. Right.
Yeah. Instead of saying like, is that enough? Or like, well, that's not, how is that of enough service? Or, does that make my life meaningful enough? It's like, no. Like,
just being able to wake up in the morning and be like, get excited about how am I going to connect the dots today, instead of being, what's next on the to-do list, or, how, who's our next client, and who's, what are we going to talk about on the Facebook Live, instead of going at it from that point of view, let's, who's, what dots am I going to connect today? And just, feeling into that feeling. Yeah.
It's such a different way to come at this question of meaning. Like, why am I here?
Right.
It's like, well, you're here to do what you love.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So if that's connecting dots, keep going. If that's holding space for people, keep going. If that's like math, do it up. Like, whatever it is, like, follow what you love, and it will lead you where you want to go.
Yeah.
And stop stressing about your purpose. And I'm the why girl, right? But that's why I love the work of the why that I do, because it's about a feeling. It's not about like a mission statement. And I think mission statements get very complicated.
Oh, and they're stressful. Mission statements are so stressful because you like have to line up all these things, like, I'm going to change the world, and this is how I'm going to do it, and da 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 da. And it feels like so daunting.
And it becomes a burden.
It does.
There was just this really intense, there were a lot of really intense conversations in my week. But a friend of mine talked about that burden and how growing up in a very religious environment, the burden of having to like live the word of God was so strong for her that it like she didn't connect with God. She lost the whole meaning because the burden of it was so strong.
Wow.
And it was all in the same place. It's just like me, like, stressing about, am I going to be a doula forever? And going like, I love holding space right now. So for her, that burden of sharing the word of God took her away from God.
Wow. And
for me, that burden of like, is this where I'm supposed to be, took me away from being there. Like,
right. Yeah.
And so it's like, just let go of that and let it unfold.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. Wow.
So we're curious, if you feel like you've found a purpose that really resonates with you and you're struggling to bring it to life, if you're struggling to live it, if it's feeling like there's still some questions around it, reach out to us. If you feel like you have no idea what your purpose is, but you wish you did, reach out to us. If you feel like you don't want a purpose, but you want to make sure that's okay, reach out to us. And if you're listening on the day or the week that this comes out, go check out our website, check out our social media, because we are going to run a challenge about this. We will likely make it accessible to people beyond the coming week, the week that this podcast is coming out. But we're not going to make any guarantees. We're going to let it unfold.
Yep. And have fun with it.
So, but whether or not you are able to join the challenge with us, definitely reach out, because just a few questions, just a few clarifications, and we might be able to help you relieve some of that stress.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we would love to do that for you.
Cool.
Anything else?
I think that was pretty much it.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's call it a wrap until
Okay.
next week then.
Bye, everybody.
As always, thanks for listening. If you learned something today that can help the people in your circle, please help us get the word out by sharing. When you leave us a rating and review on iTunes, it not only warms our hearts, but it helps people find us. We are eternally grateful for your support, and we're looking forward to connecting with you next week. Until then, you can find the show notes at www.connectedgrowthcoaching.com. You can grab your journal and then get your shui on.